golden rule number 12. Learn to forgive. Why should we learn to forgive? All of you must have had the experience where somebody hurt you, was unjust with you, misbehaved with you, or maybe even abused you. All these things happen in this world of Maya. Now, when such a thing happens, we feel hurt, which is natural. We harbor a grudge. We yearn for justice. We contemplate bad things happening to the perpetrator of the injustice. Sometimes we even fight with God. Why did this happen? But all this bitterness that we harbor within ourselves doesn't do us any good at all. The bitterness is directed towards somebody on the outside. But those sentiments are residing in our heart. They are like a poison, like an acid that we are keeping within. They are so hurtful, physically to our health. Now scientists have realized that harboring bitterness, resentment, it triggers off the fight or flight response. You know, the fight or flight response, when animals in the wild, they encounter a threat to life. So the amygdala, it has its physiological built-in response for survival. It moves the hypothalamus, which secretes epinephrine and cortisol, which make the liver pump more glucose into the blood and the heart beat faster and the blood pressure rise and the blood gets diverted in the space of a few seconds from the organs to the muscles, and one can even break into a sweat. All of this happens to enable the creature to do one of two things. Either fight the threat, or if the threat is too big, then take flight. So fight or flight. Now, we humans, when we encounter a stressful situation, the same thing happens. But, okay, a stressful situation is one thing. When we harbor bitterness, again the fight or flight response kicks in. And that bitterness is not a matter of survival. It's just a negative emotion that we have harbored in our mind. So this fight or flight response, if it remains, it will result in so many things. Diabetes, hardening of the arteries, which is directly correlated to stress. But to correlate it to bitterness is completely unnecessary. So there's so many physiological effects of that. And that is why it is said that resentment is like harboring poison, like drinking poison and hoping the other guy dies. You are resenting somebody else and taking poison for yourself. That is physically. Now come to the mental aspect. Imagine what those thoughts do to you. One teacher entered the classroom with a sack of potatoes and told all the students, make your hate list. The people you resent. So the students, the young minds, so in childhood their hate list is bigger because the logical mind is less developed. It's all emotions. So one had a hate list of who, one had 3, 4, 5, etc. One even had 11 people that she hated. So the teacher said, as many as on your hate list, take those many potatoes and write down the names of each person on a separate potato and put them in your bag. Then she said, now you will not take those potatoes out or I will fail you. They had to go home with them, come back the next day with the potatoes, remain in the classroom with the potatoes. By the end of the week, the potatoes had rotted and caught fungus and become soggy and were messing up their bag. But the teacher was repeatedly warning them of the necessity to keep them in. Finally, on the 8th day when they arrived, the teacher said, throw them out of the window now. They all were relieved. Kali Raat Beeti. The teacher then said, how was the experience? Ma'am, it was so awful. There was such a stench. The teacher said, exactly, that's the point. The potatoes that you had in the bag were obnoxious to you. Likewise, if you harbor thoughts of resentment inside, they are doing the same thing to your personality. That is why, universally, across the board, all the religious teachers have insisted that for spiritual progress, this step will have to be taken. Otherwise, you'll remain pinned to where you are. If you wish to move ahead, you have to learn to forgive. In fact, it is easier to give up attachment than it is to give up resentment. But the Vedas put them both in the same category, Rag and Dvesh. They club both and call them Rag. So Vigat Vairag means Vigata Rag, means not only giving up attachment, giving up Rag Dvesh, giving up resentment as well. That is real detachment. So giving up resentment is necessary to heal yourself. It is sometimes necessary to keep the relationship harmonious. Why? Because people are not perfect in this world. So naturally, your partner may hurt you sometimes. If you don't have the ability to forgive, then you will become historical. You know, that time you did this, that time you did that. Once one husband and wife, they were fighting and fighting and fighting. Do husbands and wife fight? I don't know, I'm just guessing. You people must be knowing. So this fight turned so serious that finally both of them stopped speaking to each other. And now a new phase began in the fight. They are not speaking to each other. After a few days, the husband had to wake up early. He had the morning flight from the airport, and he was a night person. His wife was the morning person. He said, I need her help. So at night, she was already asleep. He wrote a note. Please wake me up at 4:30 and put it by her bedside. She woke up and she was in a bad mood. So she saw the note and she wrote a note back. It's 4:30, please wake up. When he woke up and missed his flight, he said, this matter is serious. It needs to be resolved. So he started looking under the table and even below the carpet. His wife is wondering what is going on. And he's going on and on searching. Finally, her curiosity got the better of her. And she said, what are you searching for? He said, I was searching for your voice and I found it now. Right? So sometimes you have to learn how to overcome these hurts by forgiving. The person who is not sure that he's made a mistake, But nevertheless, he asks for forgiveness. He is a wise person. And a person who knows that he has made a mistake and still asks for forgiveness is a husband who understands that happy wife, happy life. So, what I'm trying to say is that even in relationships, forgiveness is necessary. And how do you forgive? What is the basis of forgiving? The first thing is humbleness. When you are humble, you are aware of your own mistakes. And when you are aware of your own mistakes, you are more tolerant towards the mistakes of others. Ari Baba, that person made a mistake, so what? Why make a mountain out of it? I also have so many mistakes. So when we are humble, we become more tolerant. Otherwise, we people are big judges when it comes to others' mistakes. He should have known better. She should have done better. And for ourselves, we are good advocates. You know, I didn't have the resources. That is why the mistake happened. Next time, I'll do better. So for ourselves, we are good advocates, and for the others, we are judges. Whereas we should do the reverse. We should be strict on ourselves and be lenient with others. So when we realize that we also have mistakes, we'll be more tolerant of others. It is like that story I've heard about the farmer who would come every day to the city with 1 pound of butter that he would sell to the baker. And the baker would sell him 1 pound of bread. So this would go on for long. One day, the baker decided to check how much of butter he was actually getting. So he discovered that it was 0.9 pounds. He said, for so many years I've been cheated. He sued the farmer in court. The matter came before the judge. The judge said, the baker claims you have been cheating him by supplying not 1 pound of butter, but 0.9 pounds. The farmer said to the judge, Your Honor, I am a poor man and I don't have weights in my home, but I did have a scale. So that bread that I used to get from him, I used to put it on one side and put my butter on the other and give it to him. Now he needs to decide. So likewise, we all have our own shortcomings. Why make a big deal of others? And besides, forgiveness is not a gift that we are offering to the other. Forgiveness is a gift that we are offering to our own selves. When you forgive, a huge weight is taken out of your heart and you can be free again. 2 people who survived the concentration camps of the Nazis during the Second World War, and they came out alive. They met again after 40 years. And one asked the other, have you forgiven the Nazis as yet? Second said, I don't bring it to mind. I've left it behind, moved ahead with my life. The first said, I have not forgiven them. I am always praying to God to bestow justice. The other said, in that case, they still have you in prison because you are still experiencing that emotion. If you wish to be free of it, you have to learn to forgive. So now, the saints, how do the saints forgive? Have you ever heard of a saint not forgiving? The idea of forgiving they forgive without even the slightest of a struggle. Now, how come saints have this ability? It's very simple. They keep the nature of this world in mind. These are materially conditioned souls. If they have defects, what is so astonishing in it? Supposing you go to a hospital and you find sick people there. Will you start fighting with them? Why is it that you are a sick person? Or will you be astonished? You'll say in the hospital you'll only find sick people. Likewise, Tulsidas says, Hari Maya Vash Jagat Brahmahi Tinahi Kahat Kachu Aghatita Nahi. He says, look, everybody in this world of Mayas in the three gunas, whatever they may say, there's nothing astonishing about it at all. Now, supposing you were walking on the road and a person was on the crossing and abusing you, how hurt you would feel. He said that to me. But when you went close and you found this is a mad guy, mentally deranged, would you still feel hurt? If you feel hurt on the words of a madman, then you are also mad. The moment you realize, oh, ye to pagal hai, all your hurt will disappear. Never mind. That's why the saints say, Ari Baba, everybody in this world of Maya is in the prison house of God. Why feel bad about what they are saying? Just understand the nature of the world. And in fact, some saints even turn such situations to their advantage. Like Saint Kabir says, Nindak niyare rakhiye, angan kuti chabai. Nit sabun pani bina nirmal kare subhai. He says, do you want to purify your heart in a jiffy? If you do Swamiji's sadhana, it will take too long. But if you want, I'll give you a method that you will accomplish it in just a few days. What is that? Nindakaniye rakhiye. Get a critic. Somebody who's extremely critical of you. Keep him in your courtyard. Angana kuti chabai, and put a tilak on his head. Offer respects. Bhai sahab, start criticizing me. You simply tolerate. Without soap and water, the Kabirji is giving you the guarantee your heart will get cleansed. So those adverse situations, when viewed and handled positively, can actually become highly advantageous. That is why we have all heard of that saint who had a terrible enemy. The saint never thought he had an enemy, but he thought the saint was his enemy. Just like Yudhishthir is called Ajat Shatru. Now Yudhishthir fought the Mahabharat with the 11 Akshohini army of the Kauravas. And Ajat Shatru means his enemy is never born. Because internally he never considered he had any enemies. So Yudhishthir is considered Ajat Shatru, the person. So this Mahatma, this sage also, never thought he's an enemy, but the enemy thought the Mahatma is my enemy. And one day he died. So all the disciples of the Guru were thrilled. Guruji, you heard, that person who used to criticize you so much, he's left the world. We should have a party today. Guruji started crying. Hey Guruji, why are you crying? Don't you know all the nasty things he did to you? Guruji said, because of him, the situations were getting created for my cleansing from inside, my inner purification. Now he is gone, I am worried. How will I progress in my sadhana? That's why I am crying. So why this complete ability to handle negativity? Because that Guruji, his priority was inner progress. So he says, if the situation is helping in my inner progress, I'm fine with it. So use all this knowledge and completely conquer any bitterness. In fact, even if you want to show somebody off, there's a better way of doing it. Take inspiration from Ratan Tata. Ratan Tata, he took over as chairman of the Tata Sons board and also as chairman of Tata Motors. So what was originally Telco, it became Tata Motors, and Ratan Tata took over as the chairman in 1990. And he announced his desire to make an indigenously designed in India. Now, in those days, India was way back in technology. All cars the technology was imported. So he said, make an indigenously designed car in 1 lakh rupees. And finally, in 1998, the Nano, he came out with the Nano at the cost of 1,25,000 rupees. So he missed his target, but it was still the cheapest car in the world. However, he kind of misread the Indian psyche, and the car was not a success at all. So in 1999, he decided that we'd like to sell off this Nano. And Ford Motors evinced interest in it. So Ratan Tata flew with the entire Tata Motors board to Detroit. And in the conference with Bill Ford, he was heavily insulted. Bill Ford said, you know nothing of the passenger car industry. You were making trucks. Why did you get into this? We are doing you a favor by purchasing it. You know, American style of negotiation. So, Ratan Tata was quiet. In the evening, he was lost in deep thought. Next day, he did not go back for the meeting. He took his board and flew back to Mumbai and applied himself to the passenger car industry. And in the space of a few years, Tata Motors started developing some good brands that became popular around the world. And in the year 2008, when there was a huge recession in the American economy and worldwide, now Ford Motors was in trouble. And their 2 worst performing brands were Land Rover and Jaguar. So Tata Motors offered to purchase them. This time, Bill Ford flew with the Ford Motors board to Mumbai. The giant had been humbled. He said, we were in deep trouble, and you are doing us a favor by purchasing these 2. So Ratan Tata could have shown him off. You know, you behaved with me like this, and look. But he was gracious about it and said nothing. And subsequently, he made both of them powerful brands around the world. But the simple thing we've heard as children, if there's a line in front of you and you wish to make it smaller, you don't have to rub it off. You just draw a bigger line by the side. So always focus on your own inner growth. And even if somebody has done bad, let God decide about it. He is the judge. It is not for us to judge anyone. Ensure that you forgive and move ahead with your life. This is Golden Rule number 12.